าวลึกรอบด้านสู่การเปลี่ยนแปลงข่าวไทย PBS ข่าวที่คุณวางใจ
Tonight on the program, the damage from the flooding in Thailand's southern region and what the government has done so far. Then how international newsrooms are adapting to the use of AI technology, and a mission to bring a Buddha relic to Thailand. สวัสดีค่ะ I'm Nad Bunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. We begin with what happened in South Korea. Martial law was imposed on the night of December 3rd by the president Yoon Suk-yeol, but this was later reversed amid protests and all MPs voted to defy the president's move, which later escalated into calls for the impeachment of the South Korean president. Some Thai politicians have also been reacting to the news that caused shockwaves all over the world. Here's how the story unfolded.
북한 공산 세력의 위협으로부터
On the night of December 3rd, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law, an unprecedented move in modern Korean politics. The announcement sparked protests across Seoul. MPs were seen pushing through the troops and climbing over the walls to get into parliament. The martial law decree was overturned after MPs voted unanimously against the president's move. This later escalated into calls for him to either resign or face impeachment. Martial law is often imposed to curb unrest, conflict, and during war. South Korea has seen at least 10 impositions of martial law since 1948, with the recent attempt being the first for 44 years. Thailand has seen martial law imposed 15 times since 1932, mostly just before or during military coups. The only difference being who declares and who revokes it. According to the constitution in South Korea, a president has the authority to declare martial law, but it requires the majority of MPs to vote to revoke it. In Thailand, martial law is declared by the commander-in-chief of the military, which does not currently answer to parliament. This means that the Thai parliament has no authority to revoke martial law.
การประกาศกฎอัยการศึกเนี่ยเป็นอำนาจที่ประเทศนี้ทำได้ภายใต้รัฐธรรมนูญไม่เหมือนของไทยนะฮะของไทยนี่คือฉีกรัฐธรรมนูญเลยสสที่กลับบ้านเลยของเขาไม่ใช่สสก็เป็นสสเหมือนเดิมเพียงแต่ว่าเป็นการที่ฝ่ายบริหารนั้นเห็นว่าประเทศอยู่ในภาวะฉุกเฉินหรือควบคุมในระบบปกติไม่ได้จึงประกาศกฎอัยการศึกนะครับแล้วก็สามารถยกเลิกได้เมื่อเหตุการณ์กลับสู่ภาวะปกติ
For this reason, People's Party MP Rangsiman feels that it is time for Thailand to review its political mechanisms. He also hopes that Thailand will eventually have a redrafted constitution that strengthens democracy and prevents military coups effectively.
เกาหลีใต้ได้ทำให้ทั่วโลกเห็นแล้วว่าสภาเนี่ยนะครับสามารถที่จะยุตินะครับการใช้อำนาจนะครับของประธานาธิบดีได้อาจจะไม่ทั้งหมดนะครับเพราะสุดท้ายเนี่ยเมื่อสภาคว่ำประธานาธิบดีก็ต้องมีการรับลูกแล้วก็ประกาศต่อไปแต่มันจะเห็นว่าบทบาทของสภาเนี่ยมันมีความเข้มแข็งอย่างมากซึ่งผมคิดว่าเรื่องนี้มันเป็นโอกาสที่ดีที่เราจะเอามาทบทวนถึงกลไกภายในเราต้องยอมรับความจริงนะครับว่าประเทศไทยของเรานะครับมีการรัฐประหารอยู่บ่อยครั้งแล้วเราก็ไม่รู้ว่าครั้งต่อไปจะมีหรือเปล่านะครับซึ่งผมหวังว่าจะไม่มี
Senator Nantana Nantawaropad also called for constitutional amendments following the events in South Korea.
ขอยกย่องจิตวิญญาณของประชาชนชาวเกาหลีใต้ที่ลุกขึ้นมาต่อต้านการรัฐประหารการได้มาซึ่งอำนาจโดยไม่เป็นไปตามระบอบประชาธิปไตยหวังว่าตรงนี้เนี่ยจะเป็นข้อคิดสำหรับคนไทยทุกคนในการที่จะลุกขึ้นมาปกปักรักษาประชาธิปไตยด้วยการแก้ไขรัฐธรรมนูญหรือยกร่างรัฐธรรมนูญฉบับใหม่
Analysts and other politicians, mainly from the opposition camp, also reacted. People's Party MP Parit Wacharasin posted on X praising South Korean citizens and politicians for their success in preventing the president from maintaining martial law. He also believes that this could be a case study for Thailand in protecting democracy. Political analyst Prajak Kongkireti also commented that the incident was an abuse of power by a president who is facing corruption charges and decreasing popularity.
Coming back to Thailand, now let's talk about the flooding situation in the south. The southern region of Thailand has experienced the worst flooding in more than 30 years. No one there ever imagined that their houses would be submerged or that they would have to wade through the floodwater up to their chests. And according to Thailand's Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation, the 6 provinces in the south that were most affected by the flooding include Pattani, Yala, Narathiwat, Songkhla, Phattalung, and Nakhon Sri Thammarat, and over 302,000 households were affected and 29 people died. But why is the flooding situation in the south so severe? Water expert Chawlit Janthararat told Thai PBS that the first reason is the low pressure cell from the Andaman Sea, which carried humidity from the Gulf of Thailand into the southern region of the country. This has caused heavy rainfall in many of the provinces since last weekend. The second reason is the cold front from China, which pushed humidity and warmth from the South China Sea into the Gulf of Thailand, and that rapidly increased the amount of rainfall. And the last reason is another low pressure cell from the Gulf of Thailand itself, which moved towards Malaysia, and therefore many of the provinces near the border, especially Narathiwat, experienced more rainfall, which has led to flooding. So what has the Thai government done so far? Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has ordered the establishment of a natural disaster center to tackle flooding and to handle flood relief in several provinces, as well as many other natural disasters. And this was recently proposed to the cabinet this week. Meanwhile, the Interior Ministry also has plans to help flood victims with an emergency fund worth about 5 billion baht. And households affected by the flooding will be eligible for a 9,000 baht compensation depending on the severity of the damage suffered. Meanwhile, the Finance Ministry has joined forces with 8 state-owned banks to roll out measures to support flood victims across the country, whether it's to help them make ends meet or to revive local businesses. And among the measures include suspending debt repayments and soft loan measures. But if we look at nearby countries, some Thai politicians mentioned that they are much more effective when it comes to tackling the floods. Malaysia, for example, has more than 8,000 temporary evacuation centers nationwide, and that can actually accommodate more than 2 million people. More than that, nearly 83,000 rescue personnel, as well as rescue boats, life jackets, and helicopters are ready to rescue those threatened by the flooding situation as well. And now let's move on to technology. AI is undeniably disrupting the way industries work, requiring people to adapt quickly to changes while navigating the ethical challenges posed by the rapid increase in the use of AI. Last week, Thai PBS hosted a 3-day event, AI Horizons, the Future of Media, showcasing how industries, especially in newsrooms, have been using AI. Let's find out more in this report by Thoranin Thepwong.
Content collection, writing script, and automatic subtitle generation are the capabilities of AI that China's CGTN TV station have been using to produce media. PBS in South Korea has AI tools that help with production work, such as editing, creating multiple camera angles. As for Japan's NHK, AI has been used to create sign language communicators during weather forecasts or disaster warnings. And what created a buzz in the early days was the creation of AI news anchors that look like real people and read news brief. It can be seen that AI is increasingly being used as a tool to present content for each media, from the initial process, filming, to production and distribution. Thai PBS is an automedia organization that has developed products for the audience to experience something new in the era of AI technology, such as AI Vertical Live, an automatic vertical live program that supports viewing on mobile phones, AI announcers explaining news brief, text-to-speech, converting news text into audio, similar to reading to a listener, or summarizing new content to be concise and easy to understand. Director of Thai PBS Digital Media said that the advent of AI creates opportunities and challenges for today's workers.
คล้ายๆกับทุกอุตสาหกรรมเลยค่ะคือเพิ่มประสิทธิภาพการทำงานนะคะหรือบางทีอาจจะช่วยลดต้นทุนด้วยเหมือนกันเพราะว่าเอามาแทนฟังก์ชันของแมนเอาคนบางอย่างหรือว่าการใช้ซอฟต์แวร์ใหญ่ๆบางอย่างก็จะช่วยลดต้นทุนช่วยเพิ่มผลผลิตเหมือนอย่างวันนี้เรามีหลายๆผลผลิตที่เกิดขึ้นใหม่เอาตัวเองก้าวเข้ากระโดดเข้าไปแล้วก็ไป mix and match มันแล้วก็ทำให้เกิดประสิทธิภาพถ้าเกี่ยวกับเรื่องคนพี่ว่าโอกาสก็คือทำให้คนได้ตื่นตัววันนี้ถ้าองค์กรร้ายเรื่องนี้แน่นอนพี่เชื่อว่าพนักงานหรือสตาฟในทุกๆยูนิตก็จะตื่นตัวกับเรื่องนี้ไปด้วย
Amid rapid advances in technology, there are also concerns that AI will replace traditional human work. CNA Singapore's head of digital growth see learning and awareness as factors that help people adapt to work.
I would say nobody should feel that they're behind on AI. You should just do what a good journalist does, which is to read and go and talk to people. We're at the stage where a lot of people are still finding their feet in AI and they're more open and generous in sharing their knowledge. So if you were to start with AI and keep abreast on AI, just read extensively, find the right people to talk to, make sure that your sources are good, and ultimately experiment.
Data processing errors are also limitations of AI that can cause problems in content delivery. Careful review is an approach that the head of production service at RTHK Hong Kong said is something that workers must take seriously.
Actually, we don't have much limitation on using AI, but we are aware of the problem of misinformation from the AI tools. That's why we always keeping it remind our colleagues need to double check the output from AI tools to ensure the accurate. Otherwise, we will lose our credibility easily. So using AI tools, we need to be careful.
This is a clear reflection of the arrival of AI that is transforming the media industry, causing organizations to start learning and understanding in order to adapt to survive amidst the changing media landscape. Thoranind Thepwong reporting for Thai PBS World.
And we all have to remind ourselves that AI is not just the future, but it's happening now. And now let's have a look at the other stories in our weekly roundup.
Myanmar has freed 31 fishing vessel crew, including 4 Thai nationals who were taken into custody after Myanmar patrol boats attacked a flotilla of Thai fishing vessels off Ranong province last night. The attack on November 30th resulted in the death of 1 Thai national. Flooding in the northern and northeastern provinces in September has caused economic losses estimated at about 75 billion baht, while the ongoing flooding in southern provinces may cause damage costing between 5 and 10 billion baht. Sanan Ang Ubonkun, chairman of the Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking, said that the agricultural sectors in those regions have been most affected. Former Commerce Minister Bunsong Teriyapirom, who was jailed for 48 years for his role in the fake government-to-government agreements in the controversial rice pledging scheme during the Yingluck Shinawatra administration, has been released on parole. His sentence was reduced several times by royal commutation, bringing it down to just over 10 years. He was initially scheduled to be freed in 2028. The Corrections Department has released Apichat Jansakunporn, a former top executive of Siam Indica Company, and placed him on probation under the department's imprisonment suspension program. Apichat was sentenced to 48 years in prison after he was found guilty of corruption related to the rice pledging scheme. He will serve the remainder of his sentence on probation because he is suffering from multiple medical conditions. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra confirmed today that the government has no plan to increase value-added tax to 15%. This came after Finance Minister Pichai Chunhawashira said that the plan to increase value-added tax is just an idea being studied, noting that it is a worldwide trend. 25 years ago, value-added tax in Thailand was originally set at 10%, but was later reduced to 7%. Attempts or even talks about increasing value-added tax back to 10% by previous governments have met with strong resistance from the general public. UNESCO has agreed to list Thailand's Tom Yam Goong as an intangible cultural heritage. The kebaya, a traditional women's garment popular in Southeast Asia, has also been added to the list through a joint nomination by Thailand, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. Previously, 4 of Thailand's cultural heritages have already been listed, namely the Songkran Festival, Nora dance, Khon mass dance, and Thai massage.
A Buddha tooth relic stupa from China arrived in Thailand on December 4th as part of the celebrations of the relationship between the two countries. This event marks the bond that has been built over time and strengthened by common beliefs. Our reporter Chirinya Lim has more on the story.
The roads around Sanam Luang were crowded on December 4th as people tried to get a glimpse of the sacred Buddha tooth relic on loan from China. Thailand organized a grand procession for the relic along Chinatown's Yawarat Road and Ratchadamnen Avenue to Sanam Luang ceremonial ground.
On the occasion of celebrating His Majesty the King's 72nd birthday anniversary and the 15th anniversary of Thai-Chinese relations, the Buddha tooth relic stupa has been offered by Chinese officials to be enshrined in Thailand.
According to the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, a text narrating the activities and teachings of the Buddhas, there are only 2 Buddha relics in the human world. One is at the Lingkwang Temple in Beijing, and the other is at Kandy in Sri Lanka. The relic in China was found in 1955 at an ancient pagoda in Xi'an province, and later enshrined at Beijing Lingkwang Temple, a significant destination for Buddhists worldwide. The relic is placed in the Jewel Gold Stupa and preserved in the pagoda built in 1957.
ก็อันนี้ก็เป็นส่วนหนึ่งของความริเริ่มของรัฐบาลนะครับเพื่อที่จะอัญเชิญพระเกี้ยวแก้วเนี่ยไปประเทศไทยเนื่องในโอกาสสำคัญก็คือว่าการครบรอบ6 รอบ 72 พรรษาของพระบาทสมเด็จพระเจ้าอยู่หัวก็จะเป็นโอกาสที่มหามงคลยิ่งก็ทางรัฐบาลไทยทางสำนักปลัดทางทำเนียบเนี่ยก็ริเริ่มของการนี้โดยการประสานกับกระทรวงการต่างประเทศเพื่อประสานกับทางฝ่ายจีนซึ่งก็ได้รับการตอบรับด้วยอย่างดียิ่งนะครับซึ่งก็เลยนำมาสู่ความพยายามและก็ความสำเร็จที่จะอัญเชิญพระเกี้ยวแก้วเนี่ยไปประดิษฐานที่ประเทศไทยเป็นการชั่วคราว 73 วันนะครับซึ่งปีหน้าเนี่ยจะเป็นเหตุการณ์สำคัญก็คือ 50 ปีความสัมพันธ์ไทยและจีน
Previously, the relic from Beijing has been enshrined overseas 6 times, including once in Thailand in 2002 during the reign of King Rama IX. The coordination to bring the relic to Thailand began in October.
About a month later, the Buddha relic has finally arrived in Bangkok. Behind me is a procession to welcome the relic before it goes on public display on December 5th.
On December 4th, the sounds of gongs and drums filled the air. The procession was surrounded by people, not only Thais but also foreigners. At Sanam Luang, the venue was prepared for the relic's arrival. The pavilion blends Thai and Chinese architectural elements, showing the commonality of the two nations' art and beliefs. People flocked to pay homage from the very first day, even though the site was not yet open to the public. Many people agreed it is a rare occasion to be able to worship a relic that came from overseas, the first time in 22 years.
ใช่ครับมีความตั้งใจตั้งแต่ที่รัฐบาลได้ประกาศแล้วเพราะเขี้ยวแก้วนี้เป็นอันซีนนะฮะหมายความว่าหาดูได้ยากวันนี้ได้มีโอกาสดีที่มากราบพระเขี้ยวแก้วอัญเชิญพระเขี้ยวแก้วจากเมืองจีนมาตั้งที่สนามหลวง
วันนี้ดีใจมากเลยที่ได้มาไหว้พระเขี้ยวแก้วนะคะเพราะดิฉันเคยไปศรีลังกามาแล้วไปดูแห่พระเขี้ยวแก้วมาแล้วด้วยแล้วดิฉันก็มีความปรารถนาอยากจะไปเมืองจีนไปวัดหลินกวงที่ประดิษฐานพระเขี้ยวแก้วไว้นะคะแต่วันนี้โอกาสดีค่ะไม่ต้องไปถึงเมืองจีนเพราะท่านเสด็จมาที่ประเทศไทย
ที่ได้มาวันนี้เนี่ยมีบุญสูงสุดเลยเพราะว่าครั้งแรกผมเคยมาที่พระเกี้ยวแก้วนี่มาจากศรีลังกามาแล้วก็มาพิธีตั้งพิธีขบวนที่ตรงนี้แหละครั้งนี้ครั้งที่3มาจากเมืองจีนและเราก็ภูมิใจลูกชายบอกพ่อไปไหวเหรอผมบอกชาตินี้ชาติเดียวทำความดีสร้างบารมีให้เกิดชาติใดพบใดก็จะได้พบแต่พระพุทธศาสนา
The relic will be open to the public every day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. until February 14th. Sharinya Lim, reporting for Thai PBS World.
And today there's a ceremony for the presentation of Thailand's Public Diplomacy Award 2024. The award was jointly established by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Thailand Foundation. One of this year's winners is the Venerable Ajahn Chayasaro, an English monk who has dedicated himself to spreading the teachings of the Buddha to people around the world.
To my view, there's a huge disconnect between the intelligence and effort and systematic thinking that people apply in their career and the complete lack of all those qualities that they apply to their inner life. So I'm just saying, why don't you have all these skills, you have these abilities, why don't you apply them to the quality of your life instead of, what's going on around you? It's not a choice, one or the other. You can do both.
Throughout his time as a Buddhist monk, the Venerable Ajahn Chayasaro had dedicated himself to spreading the teachings of the Buddha to both Thai and international audiences by giving Dhamma talks, interviews, and writing books. Back in 1978, John Michael Shiverton, who later became Pra Ajahn Chayasaro, first arrived in Thailand. He was impressed with Thai's uniqueness, which should be regarded as one of the country's greatest strengths, yet it is often overlooked. Thailand has an ability to accept diversity that enables people to live peacefully with others from different races and religions.
It's never been brought up for us to have a sense of pride, and like wholesome pride, like pumjai, not like sort of arrogant pride. And I believe that a lot of this is due to Buddhist influence. In Thailand, our religion is not based upon belief in dogmas. This is focused on how you live your life rather than what you believe about it. So if we see someone from a different religion, then we don't think we want to convert them, but we say, well, we hope they are good Christians or good Muslims, and that makes us happy. We have no intention to make them believe the same things that we believe. This is so unique in the world, and it's such a shame that in Thailand we don't see this as one of the great strengths. So when you lift something up and say, this is our core value, we have acceptance of diversity as a core value. Throughout history, you can go back how many hundreds of years in Thailand and you see this, and you cannot see that in almost any other non-Buddhist culture in the world. So it's not saying we're better than anyone, but this is our thing, you know, and it's something we can be proud of.
In his early life, Ajahn Chayasaro had doubts about the meaning of life and was in search of the truth. Then he found one of the Buddha's teachings, which had a profound impact on him.
And what the Buddha said, and this for me was one of the things that really made me a Buddhist, the Buddha said, there is a difference between knowing something and believing in something, and you have to make a clear distinction. But the problem in the world today is that people don't make this distinction. They say it's true because I believe it, and I believe it because it's true. And that's the cause of so much conflict between religions, is my religion is true. Well, how do you know it's true? Because I believe it 100%. But why do you believe it? I believe it because it's true. How do you know it's true? Because I believe it. And this is what goes round and round. And so Buddhism has this, you know, radical perspective on this. It said, yeah, but you can believe 100% in things that are not true. Is that not correct? You know, even if you think that your belief is a proof that what you believe is true, what about other religions? You have to accept the principle that it is possible to believe in things that aren't true. And the Buddhist conclusion from that is you can't take belief as proof of truth. And for me, this is just so, you know, a revelation when I first came across this teaching. It's just so different from anything else that you can find out there.
The Buddha's teachings, which cover many things from spirituality to everyday life, start with basic principles. Ajahn also explained the concept of bun, or merit, a key concept in Buddhism and Thai culture.
For example, if you help other people, if you give without any wish for any kind of reward, that will bring you joy and happiness in your life. And it will be a joy that will last. Even after 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, when you remember some good deed you performed, you feel, you feel wonderful, you feel joy. And so the Buddhists observe this. So the Buddhist teachings is look at the way things are. You don't have to believe. It's see for yourself. If you give something and you want something in return, then after some time you remember it and you just feel you just feel kind of nothing because it was a transaction. But if you did something with no wish for any reward, it makes you happy forever. So, which is superior, you know, and that happiness that comes from doing good and remembering good is what we call bun, it's merit.
As this year comes to an end, for those who are worried about the uncertainty and stress ahead, Ajahn suggested that we should pay attention to our minds and recognize that much of the stress and suffering we experience is self-imposed. Add that to the problems in the world around us. Buddhism teaches us to approach both positive and negative experiences with mindfulness. A practical way is to deal with our mind, which can help us reduce suffering induced by challenging situations and to embrace more happiness from positive experiences. In recognition of his significant contributions, Ajahn Chayasaro has been honored with Thailand's Public Diplomacy Award 2024.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media and our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates about Thailand as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ